Ma'am, you asking him for an open marriage is telling him that you're cheating, you want to cheat. Come on. What did you think would happen? And you already said that you were disgusted by him because he didn't get a raise. Are you serious? Or he didn't get a promotion? You deserve everything you get. Everything. Karma is a bee.
Subject: I asked my husband for an open marriage, and he divorced me that same night. Well, not exactly the same night, but my marriage ended immediately. Dear True Story, my name is Aya, and I've debated for months whether or not I should write in. But after binging your videos one weekend after work and hearing so many stories from both men and women, I felt like maybe, just maybe, it's time to tell my side of what happened. This has honestly been eating me alive. I never thought I'd be one of the women crying on the bathroom floor, going through a divorce I caused with my own choices, but here I am. I found your YouTube channel after randomly scrolling one night, trying to get my mind off things. It was 3 a.m., and I had this tight knot in my stomach just from missing my ex-husband. I typed in divorce regret, and there was one of your videos. A guy talking about how his wife asked for an open relationship and how it led to their divorce. I couldn't stop listening because that's exactly what I did to Mitch. I never thought I'd be writing this email, but I need to get this off my chest. Mitch and I were married for just over 2 years. We dated for a little under a year before he proposed. I used to think that was fast, but at the time, I didn't care. Everything felt easy. He was kind, patient, steady, and he wanted the kind of life I thought I wanted too. Stability, a home, vacations once a year, family someday. He wasn't flashy, but I liked that. He didn't chase attention, didn't spend money on dumb things, and he always made me feel safe. That's what I thought I needed. But within the first year of marriage, I started to feel something that I couldn't put into words. Boredom. I know how that sounds. Believe me, I've spent hours going back and forth in my head trying to figure out what exactly was wrong with me. I had a good husband, a steady life. He never yelled at me. He came home every night, but I started to feel like I was living the same day over and over again, and I hated it. We'd wake up, he'd go to work at the architectural firm where he was a team leader, and I'd mostly stay home since I wasn't working full time anymore. I had a few freelance things I was doing remotely, but truthfully, it didn't require much of me. I thought being at home was going to feel relaxing, fun even, but it didn't. I thought marriage would be more exciting. I thought I'd feel something more. The turning point for me came around 6 months into our marriage when Mitch came home from work and told me about his annual review. I remember exactly what I was doing, folding towels in the laundry room. He came in looking a little disappointed, but still tried to stay positive. He said, "They're bringing in another project manager. I didn't get the promotion, but they gave me a 2.5% raise, so it's something." I remember just staring at him like, that's it? I'm ashamed to admit this now, but I was angry, not because of him directly, but because in my mind, I felt like he was supposed to be the man who changed my life. I know how spoiled and entitled that sounds, but I had this fantasy in my head that marrying Mitch meant I wouldn't have to struggle, that I'd get to live a comfortable, maybe even luxurious life one day. And when I heard that he was only making $67,000 a year, that fantasy started to fall apart in my head. I didn't tell him how upset I was, not right away, but that's when the resentment started. I became cold toward him. I picked fights. I nitpicked. I stopped doing things around the house that I used to. I withdrew from intimacy, and slowly I started exploring other options, online. It started innocent, or so I told myself. I downloaded a dating app just to see what was out there. I didn't plan on actually meeting anyone. At first, I just wanted to feel desired. I wanted to know what life could have been like if I'd chosen differently. And that's when I matched with 3 men within a week: a lawyer, a dentist, and a doctor. Each of them was attractive, successful, and didn't care that I was married. I made that clear up front because I didn't want to hide it. And to my surprise, all three of them basically said some version of, "That's your business." Over the course of a few weeks, I met each of them for drinks or lunch. With the lawyer, we ended up going back to his place. With the dentist, it happened in his office one afternoon, after hours. With the doctor, it happened in his condo downtown after he took me to dinner. I won't get into graphic details, but yes, I slept with all of them. And what's worse, I started to think about what life would look like with each of them. They drove nicer cars, lived in high rises, didn't stress over groceries or budgets. I told myself I was just evaluating my options. But the truth is, I had already emotionally checked out of my marriage. I even made a mental list of pros and cons. Whoever made the best offer, whoever showed they wanted something serious, I was going to leave Mitch for them. That was the plan. I felt completely detached from the man I had married. I didn't see Mitch as ambitious enough. He wasn't exciting enough. He didn't make enough money. He wasn't dominant or assertive. I started to look at him like a burden I had to drag through life. But again, none of this I ever voiced. I just let it stew inside until it exploded. One night, a Tuesday, I came home from another coffee date and I looked Mitch in the eye and said, "I think we should try an open marriage." He blinked at me like he didn't even know what I was saying. I repeated myself calmly. I even said I'd read a few articles and that some couples make it work, that it might spice things up, that maybe we'd both find clarity. He snapped. I've never seen that look on his face. Mitch wasn't a loud or angry guy, ever. But that night, he stood up from the couch, shouted at me, called me a cheater, a liar, a snake, a user, every name in the book. He told me to pack a bag and go stay with my mother, and that if I didn't, he'd call the police. He kicked me out that night. That was the moment I realized I had made a mistake. Not just a small mistake, a catastrophic one. I called each of the three men, hoping one of them would take me in, or at least comfort me. You want to know what they said? The lawyer said, "I'm not looking for drama." The dentist ghosted me, and the doctor said, "Call me when you get your life together." That was when I started to panic. I moved in with my mom. I cried every night. I begged Mitch to talk to me. I wrote him letters. I showed up outside his job once, something I swore I'd never do. I even went to his sister to try and talk to him through her. Here's what I tried. The romantic apology. I wrote him a long letter, 7 pages, telling him how I felt stuck, how I was immature, how I took my frustration out on him when I should have been honest. I left it in his mailbox with photos of our wedding day. He didn't reply. The logical appeal. I offered to go to therapy, to try and make things work, to start fresh. I told him I would delete every app, block every guy, and even go back to work full time to help him feel supported. His response? There's no therapy that can undo betrayal. The desperate plea. I told him I was lonely, scared, and I missed him every day. I cried in front of him. I said I made the worst mistake of my life and that he didn't deserve how I treated him. He looked at me and said, "I know I didn't." A week later, I was served divorce papers at my mother's house. I felt like the world collapsed on top of me. My mom didn't sugarcoat anything. She said, "Aya, you made your bed, now lie in it." She's right. The divorce took months, and it was grueling. Mitch refused mediation. He let his lawyer handle everything. He didn't want to be in the same room as me. He didn't ask for much, just that I leave the condo and let him keep the car. I agreed to everything. I didn't want to fight him anymore. When I got the finalized divorce packet in the mail, I sat on the floor of my room and cried the entire day. I mean, full on, ugly crying. I haven't cried like that since I was a kid. I felt this deep ache in my chest like something was torn out of me. And I did it to myself. I sabotaged a marriage because I was bored, because I thought someone better would come along. because I resented a good man for not making more money. Now I'm 30, living back at my mom's, single, and trying to figure out what the hell I was thinking. Every guy since then has been temporary. None have stayed. I haven't been in anything serious since Mitch. Because the truth is, I think I ruined my chance at something real. I've accepted that he'll never come back. He's moved on. Probably in a new relationship now, maybe even happy. I stalked his socials for a while, but eventually stopped. Seeing him smiling without me, it hurt too much. I wanted to write this because maybe someone out there is doing what I did, looking at their partner and thinking, I could do better. But if your partner is good to you, if they love you, if they show up, don't throw that away. Boredom passes. Stability is rare. Excitement fades. But love, real love, you don't get that many times in one lifetime. I hope he's happy, even if it's not with me. Thanks for reading. Part 2. I thought I had better options. I was so wrong. Dear True Story, thank you so much for receiving my first email. I can't tell you how much it meant to finally get all of that off my chest. I know what I did was selfish, short-sighted, and hurtful. I don't make excuses for it anymore. But if you're willing, I'd like to share a follow-up. There was something I left out that I've been carrying with me, and I think it's important to tell the full truth, especially for anyone who might be walking down the same road I did. I'll be honest, writing this second part is even harder than the first. It's hard because it involves me admitting that after I ruined my marriage, I still tried to cling to the fantasy that there was something better out there. Even after Mitch kicked me out and I saw how serious he was about leaving me, there was still a part of me, some pathetic part, that hoped one of those 3 men I had been seeing would come back and save me. That maybe one of them actually cared. And when one of them did come back, I thought it was fate. I was dead wrong. A couple of months after Mitch filed for divorce, I was deep in a hole. I had stopped going out, barely spoke to anyone except my mom, and spent most nights just replaying everything over and over in my head. One day, out of nowhere, the doctor I had hooked up with before, the one who told me, "Call me when you get your life together," texted me. He said something simple. "Hey, stranger, been thinking about you. How have you been?" I stared at that message for almost 10 minutes before replying. I knew what it probably meant, but I was desperate for any kind of attention. I wanted to believe that he really had been thinking about me, that maybe he realized I was worth more than a fling. So I answered. We started texting every day. He asked how I was doing, what I'd been up to, told me he missed our vibe, and how much he enjoyed our last time together. He had this charming, confident way of talking. He always did. And even though I should have known better, I started to feel seen again. He said all the right things. I told myself this was maybe the silver lining in all of this. That losing Mitch somehow led me to this new chapter. A guy who made great money, was attractive, dressed well, drove a luxury car, had a beach house, the kind of man I had told myself I deserved. He asked me to come over one Friday night, said he had wine, dinner, and wanted to catch up. I remember doing my hair, putting on makeup for the first time in weeks, digging through my closet to find something decent to wear. I actually felt good, like things might finally turn around. That night was amazing, until it wasn't. We had dinner, talked, laughed. The vibe was fun, like before. Then it turned into sex, I won't lie. Physically, it was great. But afterwards, something changed. The air shifted. I tried to talk to him about something more, asked what he had been up to, whether he was dating anyone seriously, and he brushed it off with, "Let's not get into all that tonight." I let it slide. But then the pattern started. He would hit me up, usually late, ask if I wanted to come over. It was never during the day. never a real date, never anything that felt like genuine connection. I told myself maybe he was busy with work, but my gut started screaming that I was being used. After about a month of this, I finally brought it up. We were in his kitchen, and I said, "Hey, I'm just wondering what this is. Like, are we actually seeing each other, or is this just a casual thing?" He put his fork down, wiped his mouth, and said, "Why does it matter? You already know what this is." I just stared at him. I said, "I thought you were serious about seeing me again. You said you missed me." He chuckled and said something that cut me deeper than anything Mitch ever said to me. He said, "Aya, you need to stop acting like you're the main character. You're not my girl. You're not even in the rotation like that. You're cool. We have fun. But don't overstep. Play your position." My jaw dropped. I actually asked him to repeat it because I thought I misheard him, but he repeated it verbatim. I felt my stomach turn. I didn't even finish dinner. I grabbed my bag and left. I cried in my car for 30 minutes. How did I fall so low? How did I go from being someone's wife, someone who had a home, who was loved, who was held at night, to being some position on a guy's roster? The man who once told me I was fire and wifey material now wouldn't even acknowledge me as someone he cared about. I was just a body, a convenience. And the worst part, I let myself be that. I started spiraling again. Everything that happened with Mitch came flooding back, only now it hurt worse. Because I had proof that the grass wasn't greener. It wasn't even grass. It was dirt dressed up in fake turf. These men didn't care about me. They never did. All they saw was a bored wife looking for an escape. It took me hitting that rock bottom to truly see Mitch clearly. No, he wasn't a doctor. No, he didn't drive a Tesla or wear Rolexes or fly first class. But he was there. He was real. He was loyal. He was the kind of man who woke up every day and tried his best to build a life for us. He didn't just show up with flowers and flattery. He showed up with consistency and care. He came home every night. He remembered the little things I said. He rubbed my back when I had cramps, even though he didn't understand what I was going through. He made me tea when I had a cold. He surprised me with my favorite snacks after a long day. He didn't cheat. He didn't lie. He didn't play games. And I threw him away. For what? Some fantasy of a man with more money? Some illusion of a better life? Some imaginary excitement? Let me tell you something. Excitement fades. Peace stays. And with Mitch, I had peace. I just didn't know how to appreciate it. I've tried reaching out to him again since that experience with the doctor. I sent a long text. No begging, no drama, just an honest message that said I was sorry, that I saw everything now, that I wish I could go back and undo the damage I did. He didn't reply. I sent one more message a couple weeks later, letting him know that I wasn't trying to force anything, but that if he ever wanted to talk, I'd be open to it. I told him I'd go to therapy on my own, that I wasn't trying to pick up where we left off. I just wanted to be able to say I made amends. Still, no response. And I get it. He owes me nothing. He gave me everything, and I gave him betrayal. But if there's even a 1% chance that he might read this or hear this story somehow, I want him to know, Mitch, I was wrong. Not just wrong in what I did, but wrong in how I saw you. I thought you weren't enough, and now I see you were more than I deserved. You gave me a home, and I chose the streets. You gave me stability, and I chased chaos. You gave me love, and I mistook it for boredom. I can't undo what I did, and I know you'll probably never trust me again. But if there's even a remote possibility that we could talk one day, just talk, I'd be grateful. And if not, I'll carry this lesson with me for the rest of my life. I don't say this out of guilt. I say this out of clarity. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. And I'm sorry I realized it too late. To anyone listening to this story, especially women who think they can do better just because their man doesn't have flashy things, please hear me. Status means nothing without character. Money fades, looks fade, excitement fades. But a good man who loves you for you, who shows up, who sacrifices, that's rare. I wish someone had shaken me before I made these decisions. I wish someone had told me that you don't leave a man like Mitch for maybes and what ifs. Because now I know what it's like to be on the other side. Used, discarded, ignored. I don't expect pity. I just hope my story saves someone else from making the same mistake. Thank you again, True Story, for giving people like me a place to be honest. With regret, but also with growth. Aya.